Peace and peace, y'all. Rob Blackstorm, what's going on, y'all? Long time no speak. I want to speak to y'all, drop this video on this holy day, this Lions Gate. You may be seeing this, Friday, Saturday. The energy is still alive, but today is the Lions Gate, baby. 8/8/19. And if you tune into what's going on, you will feel the energy that's happening today. And one reason is because a lot of people are tapping into their spirituality. They're tapping into ancient African spiritual culture. So they're embracing this day. So this is a holy day for people who walk in the left-hand path, people who are into alternative forms of spirituality. The reason this is a holy day, you have to look at even the numerology of the day. 8/8/19. So let's break it down. 8 plus 8, 16. 9 plus 1 is 10. So 16 plus 10, let's add it up. So we have 26, right? 16 plus 10 is 26. So 26, add the 26, 6 plus 2 is 8. So really, we're dealing with a triple 8 day, 8/8/8. And if you work with tarot cards, or you have your tarot cards, if you look in the magician card, you will see that there is an 8, which is called the infinity symbols. And one of the reasons why the 8 is called the infinity symbol, or the 8 is on the magician's deck, because it represents infinity. It represents things going in flow, things going in flux, as they say, things going up and down, as our lives are. Our lives go up and down. We have different challenges. We have different circumstances. But not only is this an 8/8/8 day, the things we should be doing today, definitely meditating, definitely planning our desires and our dreams during our meditations, definitely lighting some candles, doing some spell work for the new you that you want to see next year around 8/8, the new you that you want to see manifest over the next upcoming months, the new you that you want to see change. And I would say this is not the day just to do money spells or to do money work. Today is the type of day where you work on yourself. If you have a fear, what is that fear, and how can I defeat that fear? No matter what it is, maybe it's fear of crowds, maybe it's fear of talking to people, maybe it's a fear of putting your true self out there. And this is a lion's gate. So we know lion's the king of the jungle. Lion is bold. A lion steps out. A lion attacks. A lion ain't for the play. The lion is the king of the jungle. The Lion King just came out a couple of weeks ago. And the Lion King is basically a movie about the Lion's Gate. If you think about it, it's about going from carelessness, Hakuna Matata, because the carelessness or the distractions, as we talk about the TV, the media, the music, the friends, the family, the distractions, as they say in the Matrix, the women in the red dress, or the distractions. And let's talk about the distractions real quick. The distractions nowadays are popping. Let's not front, right? We're in this Lions Gate, and we want to be all we can be, and we want to be the best we can be. But the distractions right now are popping. We can't front. They got HD, 4K, curved TVs, cell phones, HD, reality shows, sports, etc., etc. And we have all these distractions. People, hot girl summer, city boy summer. All these distractions to take us away from becoming what we need to be, and from living our purpose. And for those that are already living their dreams or living their purpose, you could always improve and get better, because the thing about this path is this path never stops. This path of growth, this path of learning, this path of understanding, this path of wisdom, it never stops. There's always something new to acquire. There's always something new to learn. So as we travel through this Lion's Gate, what does it mean? Being a lion, or as they would say, a lion of Judah, or as they would say, a conqueror, or as they would say, a king, A Rastafarian would say, a lion of Jah, right? Lion of Judah, conquering lion. So when we're talking about a conquering lion, or we're talking about kingship, we're not talking about, we're not talking about weakness. We're not talking about non-bravery. We're not talking about slackness. We're talking about being on our A game. We're talking about being on our grind. We're talking about being in our studies. We're talking about making the spiritual life a lifestyle and implementing daily practice in this lifestyle. Morning rituals. What do you do in the morning? Do you work out in the morning? Do you read in the morning? Do you meditate in the morning? Do you write, journal in the morning? Or do you just wake up in the morning and just cell phone and then just go about your day without a clear way of programming your day? See, the thing about, somebody asked me on this to talk about being God. But the science itself, and the science of being God, is that you no longer are depending on something outside of yourself. You're no longer depending on a mystery. You're no longer depending on a spook. When we talk about God, we're not talking about anything outside of ourselves. We are talking about being at one with God. We're talking about being a lion. We're talking about being the king of the jungle. And what does that mean, being a king? Well, it means the same thing as being a manager or a boss, a CEO, what everybody wants to be, is being totally responsible for yourself and your actions. Not blaming someone else, not pointing the finger at the devil, not pointing the finger at the retrograde, like a lot of people in this spiritual culture wants to do. The retrograde, a lot of people have been successful during retrogrades. A lot of people have been successful. And if you are unsuccessful during retrogrades, or there's miscommunications, or there's problems, it's the retrograde. And then your job is to figure out how to fix it. See, God is a builder and destroyer, generator, operator, destroyer, as C. Freeman L. said. But God is a builder and destroyer. The 8, the nation of gods and earth, the supreme math, the 1 to 10, is 8. The number 8 is build and destroy. We are in a lion's gate at 8 day. All the numerology adds up. So we're in a lion's gate day. So, and we're supposed to be lions every day, but today is a lion's gate day. And if you say that you are God, or you say that you are one with God, what's God's primary function? Besides all the magic, besides all the shit in the Bible about parting Red Seas and turning water to wine and Jesus being God and all that, what is God's main function? God's main function is that God is a creator. God creates, and sometimes for God to create, God has to destroy. And God is constantly building. So when you're going through this godhood, you are 100% responsible for everything that happens to you. That means if the car breaks down, you don't blame someone else. That means if you have a terminal illness, you don't blame someone else. That means if you are, people say, well, if you are God and God exists, then why do these things happen to people? And I would counter that by saying that, yeah, the terminal, so let's use the example of the terminal illness, right? So you say, wow, I'm not responsible for a terminal illness. That shit just happened, right? And that things do happen. People have weird illnesses, weird things that happen, things out of control that happen to us. Since April, these past couple of months, personally, have been tumultuous. There's been ups, downs, ups, losses, gains, and perspective. But your job as God, or your job as being one with God, is to be a creator. That means that you are a builder and destroyer. That means if you have the terminal illness and it happens, it's you who has to determine what your perspective is. What are you going to create to combat this illness? What are you going to build on to destroy this illness? What is your perspective? Are you looking at the fact that the doctor said that this is a terminal illness and that you're going to die and really feeling that way? Or are you rejecting that notion and saying, nah, I'm God. I'm going to figure out a way to fix this. I'm going to meditate. I'm going to pray. I'm going to take whatever herbs, whatever medication. I'm going to look for alternative means of medication. And let's say, God forbid, you do all that and you're still going to die. Your perspective on how you die is still controlled by you. You are still the creator. You are still the lion. You are still the God. So the science of self and the science of being a God is total self-responsibility, self-determination, self-accountability, self-motivation, self-starting. This is a path that you can join people and you can associate with different covens and different organizations and different temples. But ultimately, that's just congregation. That's just basically being a tree amongst other trees. But as a tree, as an individual tree, you have to water, you have to get rained on, you have to get sunlight. Your branches have to reach for the sun. Your branches have to be able to take in the water. You have to be able to take in the light. And nobody could do that for you. No teacher, no scholar, Dr. Umar, who else? Tariq Nasheed, red pill, blue pill. And don't get me wrong, I've learned from everybody that I'm talking about. But at the end of the day, it's my job to research what Dr. Umar tells me. It's my job to research what red pill and blue pill. It's my job to research what Tariq Nasheed tells me and make sure that they're not guiding me wrong. And also to critically analyze. That's another function of being God. Critical analysis. You're no longer a sheep. You're no longer just listening to what people tell you and falling for it. You are God. We are people that come from space. Let's look at space-time. Space-time is a concept that states that if you are in space and I am on the Earth, when you're in space, what happens is when you're in space and space-time, when you're in space, you will age slower, right? You will age slower if you are in space on a spaceship than someone who is on the ground and on Earth. So when you're in space, you're actually aging slower than if you were on Earth. So what does that mean? We talk about black doesn't crack. Think about it. If they're saying in space, if you travel through space, you would age slower than someone who is on Earth, and we say black don't crack, that means we age slower than most people on Earth. So we are interstellar beings. We are beings from outer space. Look up the Dogon tribe. They told us that we are the Nomo. Study the Cometians. They told us that we are from outer space, the Anunnaki. Study the Mayans. They talk about us being from outer space. All the ancient cultures talk about people coming from space to plant themselves here on Earth. So we choose to come through this, and we choose to come through this gate in order to become lions, in order to become conquerors, in order to subdue the earth and manifest the things that we want. There's been a lot of retrogrades that's been happening past couple of months. A lot of people are going through hardships. A lot of people are going through changes. A lot of things are happening. A lot of breakups. A lot of arguments. I've seen a lot of women, especially here in New York City, argue a lot. A lot of flipping out. So the key is to be in tune with who you are. Get to know who you really are. I had a situation with my sister, right? And I was supposed to drop her to the airport. She's like, yo, spend the night at my house so that you don't oversleep. I'm like, nah, I got it. I'm gonna put the alarm by my ear and I'm gonna fall asleep and I'm gonna wake up. Lo and behold, my ass didn't wake up, right? Now, I could blame my alarm for not being loud enough. I could blame the fact that, you know what I'm saying, that whatever. I could blame anything else. But instead, I have to be accountable. I have to look in the mirror and say, damn, I disappointed my sister. What can I do next time so that I don't disappoint her? Maybe I set a clock alarm and a alarm on my phone. Maybe I have someone call me at the time that they're supposed to wake me up. Maybe I set 4 alarms. So if I don't hear the first one, the other 2 will possibly wake me up. So this is about not blaming. Not saying, oh, well, my sister shouldn't be asking me anyway to drop her. You know what I'm saying? She should be doing this on her own, or pointing the finger at her, or, being upset about the situation. It's about finding a solution. And that's what being God is. Being God is ultimately being accountable. Being God is ultimately being responsible. Being God is ultimately being a creator or being a creative. And we have to get out of the notion of just calling ourselves God because we have melanin. Like, that doesn't make you God. That doesn't make you a lion. That doesn't make you a king. That doesn't make you royalty just because you have melanin. Hard work beats talent when talent doesn't work hard. So you can have all the melanin in the world, and if you ain't doing shit with it, it's like having a fucking Benz, you know what I'm saying, or a Ferrari, and all you do is drive it around the block. You know what I'm saying? You got a Ferrari, and you just want to drive it around the hood. That's what having melanin is. Melanin simply converts light to energy. It converts heat to energy. You know those ultraviolet rays that they always take and telling people to stay away from? Well, we absorb those ultraviolet rays. Look at your chakras. The highest point of the chakras is a violet or purple. And when you go into the highest chakras above the crown chakra, right, into the 9 chakras, you go up, you're going to be ultraviolet. There's a women's group that fucks with whenever a man does something, or a man, you know what I'm saying, gets out of pocket, Me Too situation. There's a women's group called Ultraviolet that comes out and wrecks shop. UV rays are ultraviolet rays. Guess who was able to absorb them? The melanated ones. When the new moon happened recently, and I posted on my Facebook, did you feel that? The new moon, and I got a pretty good response. And if you were in tune, you felt that black moon because it was a super moon. Not just because it was a black moon, but because it was a super moon. And thank the ancestors that it was called a black moon. Because everyone, white, black, Chinese, Spanish, who was into this occult, who was into this magic, who was into this left-hand path, praised you. They call us black people. So literally, based on the sound waves that were emanating out of their mouth, by saying black moon, by saying the black moon will be powerful, and by people getting into this occult and getting into this spirituality, they literally have uplifted the black nation, whether you know it or not. Whether you know it or not, white people are dying off. Statistically, they are dying off. You could watch a film called America Under Stress. I believe it's a documentary on HBO. I believe it's called America Under Stress. And they talk about how white people are dying off all across the world. Why do you think there's Brexit and all these things? They're really, the Richard Spencers of the world, they're really trying to preserve themselves because they are dying off. So we up there worried about Trump, and we're worried about what the white man's doing. We're worried about how the white man's racist and all that. Man, fuck all that shit. That's human shit. That's human shit. That's not lion shit. Lions regulate the jungle. They don't get caught in the affairs of the monkeys and the sheep. They eat the monkeys. They probably don't eat the monkeys, but they eat the sheep. You know what I'm saying? They're not concerned about the affairs of sheep. They're concerned about eating the sheep and being successful and having as much abundance as they can with themselves, their families, and their loved ones. This is what the lions do. This is what a lion gate is about. This is about coming into godhood and coming into who we're supposed to be. So if you want to know who God is, or the science of self, look in the mirror. How responsible are you for yourself? Are you drifting through life? Are you waiting for the lotto to save you? A lot of people out here waiting for the lottery to save them. Are you waiting for a man to come, a Prince Charming to come and take away all your bills so you could be a housewife and do nothing for the rest of your life? Are you waiting for some woman to come and move you into her house so that you don't have to do shit and be responsible for yourself? Let's call it thing a thing. Are you comfortable on government assistance, chilling, doing nothing all day, but calling yourself a God? God is a creator. God is a builder and destroyer primarily. And if you're not creating anything, you don't have no blog, no website, no book, no business, no YouTube, no ebook, know nothing, and you're talking about you're part of this godhood, you better create something, you better build something, because at the end of the day, that's what's remembered, what you build. That's what the lion is about. When Lionsgate is about, it's about building. It's about being infinite. It's about being timeless. Nipsey Hussle will live forever. Malcolm X will live forever. Martin Luther King will live forever. Stokely Carmichael, forever. H. Rap Brown, forever. Chancellor Williams, forever. You understand? These are legends. These are people that created things. Rudolf Steiner, forever. Manly P. Hall, forever. These are creators, builders. And that's how they live forever, based on what they create. So what are you creating? Are you accountable for your life? What do you teach your children? Are you teaching your children to be accountable? So we have to really take hold of who we are. And if we call ourselves God, this isn't like a game of dress up. This isn't a game of who has the best garment on. This isn't a game of who's wearing the best clothing, who's wearing the best ankh, who's wearing the best kufi, who's wearing the whitest of the whitest garment. In fact, you shouldn't even be wearing white. You should be wearing black, just like the judges, just like the nuns, and just like the Catholics. They only wear white when they're coming out to fool your dumbass, because everybody knows black absorbs energy. Black harnesses energy. Blackness takes energy. Again, your melanin absorbs light, absorbs ultraviolet light. It literally absorbs enough energy to stimulate your crown chakra. Why do you think black people got all these dances and all this slang and all these different styles? And it's always the next thing. It's always the next thing. It's always the next thing. There's always the next slang. There's always the next art. There's always the next creation. Soon rap will be done and there'll be another creation. Just like jazz. Just like rock and roll. We constantly creating, because that upper chakra, that ultraviolet chakra, is stimulated by the sun. We are solar people. Solar, like solar panels, but we're solar. So when we talk about the soul, you could say the soul is the sun in me, right? And the spirit is the activation of that sun. The spirit is that sun in motion. So there's a difference between the soul and the spirit. In fact, when you're talking about spirit, you're directly talking about breath, because spirit comes from the word spire. So, like, we got to realize that our response is God. Our response to our environment, our response to what happens in the universe is what God is. That's who you are. If your response to everything is complaining and is frustrating and is whining about everything, and you blaming, your mama, your daddy, your cousin, your auntie, your uncle, your boss, Trump, still, then you have not fully grasped what being God is. You have not fully grasped of even what being Christ-like is. Because this anointing that they're talking about is you being in the spirit of the sun. You are the sun, literally. You harness heat and convert it to energy and manifest things. So let's get in tune with who we are. Let's take advantage of today, this Lionsgate. Let's harness some energy. Go out, get some sun. Drink water. Eat right. Take care of yourself. There's a lot of people. I know people who are overweight, right? And they be like, oh, I'm big bones, so this is my metabolism. And they use that as an excuse for the rest of their life. And then they're in the hospital, and then they want to blame, the food companies, or they want to, for making the food so good, for chemically engineering the food. We all know this, a lot of this food is GMO. Or they want to blame the junk food manufacturers, or they want to blame their parents. No, you have to be accountable for your response to your universe, for your response to your environment. The people that are around you, the people that you speak to, what 50 Cent said, his grandfather told him that you're only as successful as the people you talk to for no reason. So who are the people that you talk to for no reason? Are they inspiring you for better? Do they tell you the harsh truths that you don't want to hear? Do they show you the man in the mirror? Do you show yourself the man in the mirror? Are you willing to admit when you're wrong? This is lion shit. This is king of the jungle shit. And some of y'all, honestly, that are walking this path of occultism, walking this path of high level spirituality, walking this path of magic, y'all need to go back to church. Straight up. Because you're not ready to be accountable. You're still blaming someone else for shit that's happening. You're not ready to look at your life crumbling. Literally. This is God shit. Look at shit crumbling around your life and smile and still do your magic and still be at a high vibration and know that shit is going to get better and see shit get better and start seeing shit manifest. That's God shit. That's faith. That's what they told you in the church, to have faith. That doesn't change now that you have this magical culture. People say when you do your magic, be confident. That's having faith. It's the same thing they told you in church. But we know the church has the bullshit with it. Based on what Constantine took out of the Bible, based on Jesus' history from 13 to 33 being gone. I mean, how can you, if you dated me, right? If you're a woman and you date me and you don't know my history between 13 and 33, then you don't know me. You don't know who I am. And that goes for anybody. You know what I'm saying? Vice versa. If I'm dating a woman and I'm asking her, yo, how was high school? And she's, don't give me no answer. Yo, well, how was your 20s? She don't have no answer. Then I can't trust her. I don't know who she is. And it's the same thing with Jesus. But that doesn't mean that these scriptures, which they stole from all these different religions, you know, all these different temples, all these different ways of life, all these different cultures that they took the Bible, the quote unquote holy scriptures from, that doesn't mean that it doesn't say, have truth in it. It's just you have to decode the parables for what it is. But there are lessons in the Bible because those are really books. And there's, of course, remixes and adjustments. But there are lessons in the Bible. That's why it's attractive. And that's why it's so big around the world, because it is ancient African spiritual technology. Ancient African spiritual technology designed to help you master the universe, learn the secrets of the universe, and use them to help you, your family, and those that you love around you. Your job is not to save the world as God. Your job is not to convert people. That's what's taken from the Christians, and primarily the white Christians who came to Africa. And the whole reason that they wanted to convert people is so that they can have more numbers and they can have more people enslaved. And look at the world now, right? Look at the world now. Look how many wars have been fought over Christianity, over religion, over Islam. Look how many wars. Look how many people have gone to die over these philosophies. So today, 8/8/2019, we just did the math, the numerology. It comes to 8, build and destroy. Let's visualize. Let's start writing out. Let's start, light a candle today. White candle, white candle costs you $2. Light a white candle, man. Pray to your ancestors for guidance and help. Shit. And write a petition and put that petition under your candle of what's going to happen in 2020 and watch it unfold and work towards it. Don't just write the petition, light the candle, and chill and watch, you know what I'm saying, Love and Hip Hop or First Take. Do what you need to do to get to where you need to be. You know what I'm saying? Because this world will eat you alive. This jungle will eat you alive. And this whole world, like the Matrix says, is designed to turn you into a battery. And once they're done with you, to discard you. You work, they use you as a battery until you die. And you never live your purpose. You never fully master this environment. You never fully master the universe. And you are susceptible now to worldly influence, to be manipulated by media, to be manipulated by family, to be manipulated by frenemies. These things don't happen when you are accountable. When you're accountable, you research shit. When you're accountable, you're a critical thinker. When you're accountable, you don't just take things on face value. When you're accountable, you just don't listen to what someone says and do it and does it. You analyze it, You scrutinize it, and then you make a move. So with that, I just want to say peace, power, and prosperity. Like, share, subscribe. And let's start getting busy, y'all. Because these next couple of these next couple of months leading into 2020. Remember, 9/11 was in 2001. So what you think is going to happen in 2020, 2021? All these movies, now you see buildings and cities going down and shit getting destroyed in all these movies. I remember prior to 9/11, in a lot of the movies, what was happening was plane hijackings. That was the big thing, plane hijackings. Every movie, Passenger 57, Passenger this, Passenger that, airplane, plane hijackings. But now what do you see in the movies? City devastation, Avengers, Rampage, and we could go on and on with these movies. You've seen cities being destroyed. So I'm not saying that that's what's going to happen, but I am saying that what's on the horizon with all these active shooters and all these people going crazy. And another thing about these active shooters and these people going crazy, that has nothing to do with your black ass. Now you may say, oh, what if it does, and what if it happens to me? If it happens to you and you're involved in a situation with an active shooter, then you just happen to be involved in that situation. As God, it is still your responsibility on how you will respond to the situation. It's not what happens, it's how you respond to it. And that's what Godhood is about. We say God is omnipresent. God is omnipotent. Omnipresent means God is in all things, which is true. Omnipotent, which means God has power over all things. So do you? Do you have power over all things in your life? Do you have control over things in your life? Are you exercising control over things in your life? Are you present in the things in your universe? Family, friends, situations, responsibilities. Your money. Are you responsible with your money? What's your mind like? How do you view things? Are you always gossiping? Are you always in worry? Do you think the worst before you think the best? Are you cynical? These are things that have to be worked on. And the only way they get worked on is through repetition. Repetition and revisualizing. After 25, psychology states that you don't change unless you're doing one of two things. You're either meditating actively and repeatedly visualizing and affirming who you are and living that, or something traumatic has to happen. Gunshot, loss, XYZ. And sometimes when we have loss and when we have traumatic things that happen, it's because we need to learn something. It's because that there's a lesson. It's trauma shakes you up out of your comfort zone. If you're not going to take yourself out of your comfort zone yourself, then something traumatic will. That's just the way life is. Something traumatic will take you out your comfort zone. And if that's what's happening to you in your life, you have to look at why. You have to see what you've done to cause these things to happen. What was the cause for these effects? Why are these things falling apart? Did you choose the wrong partner? Did you not pay this bill on time? Did you waste your money on the new Jordans or the Birkin bag, which is why you can't pay your light bill this month? What was the reason? Be accountable. Don't say somebody hexed you. Don't blame the devil. Don't blame outside circumstances. Look at the man in the mirror. Look at the lion. Look at the lion in the gate. And figure out how you don't fall for the trap next time. Figure out what you can do to become the better you. If you need a reading, you could contact me. I do readings, clairvoyant readings. I also use cards if need be. And we could get into it, and we'll see what's up with you for the next upcoming year, so that by 8/8/2019, you could be straight. But we have to look at this world no longer as peons, no longer as sheep, no longer as people who just listen. Even me, you should research things that I say. Any teacher, you should research things that they say. Any term that you don't know, write it down and research it. Make it make sense to you, because knowledge is one thing, but understanding is another. And if you don't understand, or you're just taking this knowledge that is not part of you, that's why it's so important to teach. If you are a person that has this knowledge, You know, if you are a person that is spiritual, that's why it's important to teach. Because when you teach, you learn. When you teach, you gain a better understanding, even for yourself. And this is what godhood means. God is no longer relying on things outside of yourself. Again, no matter what happens, it is your responsibility. If something happens to your family, if something happens to your friends, if something happens to people around you, if something happens to you, you cannot control what happened on the outside, but you can always control your response. And your response doesn't always have to be joy and happiness. You're going to feel it for a little while, but then get back into the God vibe. Get back into being the sun. Get back into shining light. Again, like, share, subscribe. Rob Blackstorm, peace, power, and prosperity, y'all. I'm out.